Good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are, folks. This is the Roaming Prepper channel. I'm Pete, and I'm your host. And this is the Saturday Sitrep for the 12th of March, 2022. Yes, we are quarter of the way through the year already, which is weird. By the way, trivia. A year ago, roughly this week, is when no, 2 years ago, we got shut down for the Rona. And here we are again, having more fun with a whole new batch of crap going on in the world. We're going to try and cover some of this today, and I'm going to try and keep it lighthearted. You guys know my angle. I try to give you actionable information that you can create a action plan or movement from. Uh, Not to give people a heart attack, but more to keep you aware. There's a fine line between being prepared and aware and giving yourself a stroke. And there's actually a very blatant line. We're trying to separate that. But in any case, I've got a lot of information to cover. I'm going to have to bounce around. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to bounce around a bit. I may curse a bit. So if you have kids, get the headsets. If you don't have to work today, although some of my fellow creators I know do have to work on Saturday, I don't. But if you don't, go get a drink. And if you're working from home, maybe you could get a drink anyway and nobody will notice. But in any case, yes, morning drinking is okay in light of the fact we just finished a pandemic. And now apparently some leaders are trying to start World War III. So what the hell, right? Have a drink. Anyway, all right, all sarcasm aside, let's get to the stories. Folks, there's so much going on. God, I don't even know where to start. So I got another one of those compiled reports, and again, State Department stuff. I'm going to try and go through all this, but it's really, I'll just give you, so what I'm going to do, you're going to see different segments of this video, and I'm going to kind of jump back and forth. It's stuff I've recorded over the last 48 hours, and I was trying to figure out how to put it together. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me. If you couldn't tell already, this is a pre-recorded call. I will be hopefully doing a premiere, and I hopefully will be attending my own premiere, barring something else from happening. But again, we will be doing the Saturday rep. So let's get started with the first batch of fun. And I hit the wrong button here. Let's go to the happiness here. So CNN, as of Friday night, is reporting that heavy shelling erupts. Oh, let's expand that so you already saw my face. Heavy shelling erupts in the south. So what's going on the southern part of the Ukraine, for those of you unfamiliar with it, is the Russians have besieged the port city of Mariupol, which is right next to Crimea, which they've already taken. They've made a run at Odessa, which is across the Black Sea Bay, if you will, to try and shut Ukraine out of shipping. But they were unsuccessful. They wound up having to land somewhere else, and they've had hell. They've been getting pecked at by resistance fighters and everything. They're not having a good time. Apparently, one Russian Marine Corps unit just said they were conscripts and they were trainees. And they're like, yeah, to you, Putin, we're not going out and fighting people we have no business fighting. So there were some issues. That being said, they're probably going to make runs for that that port city, because they really need it. The problem is that's also where humanitarian aid is coming in, and supplies or people are trying to get out. It also borders the country of Moldova, and it borders a couple of NATO countries. And this is where it starts getting sketchy, right? Because the Black Sea has Turkey to the south, which is NATO, has Romania, which is NATO, it has Moldova and Ukraine, which are not NATO, and then of course it has Russia. And they're all around this big puddle called the Black Sea. Already, as I reported last week, an Estonian ship wound up getting torpedoed or rocket attacked. a ship from not from India. It wasn't Myanmar. I just blanked out on what country it was, but a country from Southeast Asia sent a freighter in there, clearly displaying a different flag than anyone in the area, and they got attacked, and they actually sunk that damn thing. And I think the other ship, since my last report, has sunk as well. So this is starting to drag in other countries, right? There are fatalities in other countries. There's a point where it's going to start getting ugly, right? And that's what we don't want. But in any case, heavy shelling erupts in the south of Russia. So let's expand this. Let me blow that up a bit, and let's see what else is going on. And let me see if I can get that video. I got it up a little bit ago, but okay, so here we go. Nope, that's not the video I wanted, so here we go. I found the knucklehead. Hold on a second. Let me bring the knucklehead back to you, and I will expand him so you can listen to what he's got to say. We're probably going to get a commercial, so if we do, apologies. Or we'll get nothing, because nothing is good. Okay, kids, so obviously we're having technical difficulties with the video that we were trying to display just now. Let's see if we can get that going again. And maybe not. All right, so we'll disregard the video. Instead, oh, seriously? Okay, let's try that again. Hold on a second. He came back. What we're seeing here. So let's bring Knucklehead up, and I will let you guys kind of enjoy this this little video. Let's discuss this for a bit while I hit play.
And specifically, Colonel, as we start with that, with these attacks on airfields, the bombardment in the West, and then also in Dnipro, as we just heard about from Sam Kiley. What do you make of that strategy on the part of Russia?
Well, Erica, good morning. The big thing that the Russians are doing here is attacking airfields, Lutsk and Ivano-Frankivsk, that are really close to the Polish and Slovakian and Hungarian borders. What they're doing, in my view, is in this part of their campaign is interdicting or getting ready to interdict as many supplies that come from the West into Ukraine. So they're trying to stop the supplies that we're sending from the NATO countries into Ukraine. They're trying to stop them from getting to Ukrainian forces and the Ukrainian defenders. What is happening in Dnipro right here in the center that Sam Kiley was reporting on, that is an area where they can basically cut the country in two. I've always looked at Dnipro as being a place that is kind of an axis that they can turn on. So they can move forces from the south, they can move forces from the northeast, and they can move, once they get Dnipro, they can then move those forces up the Dnieper River Valley toward Kyiv. So this is a critical juncture for them as well. So what they're doing here is moving this whole operation to the entire country, and they're trying to make it very hard for the Ukrainians to defend themselves.
Okay, so based on what we just saw, hopefully the audio works out the right way. What the Russians are trying to do is get these cities along the river that kind of splits the Ukraine so that they can use it as a pivot point to go to Kiev, but they're also trying to stop the supplies that are coming in from Poland and from the Balkans. Now, keep in mind, Poland and the Balkans are all NATO countries. So I'm going to bring up a NATO country map just so you can kind of understand what we're dealing with. Let me see if there we go. Okay, so let's to give you some context, let me share this map briefly. So as you can see, the blue are the NATO countries, right? Obviously, Switzerland, Sweden, Ireland, Finland, Denmark. Many of these are neutral countries or not affiliated. So here you see, I don't know if you can see my icon. I'm going to make my dude smaller so you can properly see. But the green country is actually the Ukraine, and the green over here to the right is Georgia. Now, Russia already went and beat up Georgia for pretty much no reason. Below Georgia, this blue country down here is Turkey. And then these are the other NATO countries, orange being non-NATO. Now, here's the problem. This is the Black Sea. You see that yellow guy right under Ukraine's green nation? That is Moldova. Now, at least one map that the Belarusian president carelessly displayed showed Russia going through Ukraine and into Moldova to reacquire Moldova. Now, if you notice, there's a river that runs through the middle of the Ukrainian nation. These are these are the cities that the Russians are trying to take. This is also a major wheat and fertilizer export area. So this is going to screw things up. On top of that, we have a lot of nuclear reactors and atomic energy in this country. So, but you can see basically the Black Sea has Russia, Ukraine, and then NATO countries around the south. If Russia decides to, well, I'm going to go into Moldova and go smack the hell out of Romania or someone, they're going to start an epic conflict, because that will escalate and Article 5 of the NATO agreement will apply, and it's game on. But just to give you some understanding, so they're trying to cut Ukraine in half so that they can kind of consolidate an area so they can launch attacks. But they have to be careful because they're pretty much surrounded by NATO on the other side, with the exception of Moldova. So not good news, not beneficial. It's just something we need to watch out for. This is the kind of stuff that when leaders are not careful, they escalate shit and they make things horrendous. So as far as the reports I got, and I'm just going to give you a quick summary. I won't go into great depth like I did last week. Battles and attacks continued around the outskirts of Kiev, Cherniv, and Kharkiv, as well as Luhansk and Donetsk, including around Mariupol. Technically speaking, other than Donetsk, the Russians have not physically conquered an entire city without subsequently getting chased out by the Ukrainians. And this is a problem because the Ukrainians know enough to not go head to head with a big Russian column, so they'll back up, and they kind of use asymmetric fighting, right? They're going to retreat, and then they're going to come back and smack down on the Russian convoys or Russian bases as they go. Now, I actually have some footage that kind of shows, let me see if I can get that footage up here, what exactly they're doing to mess with the convoys. Now, let me see if I can get that video up here. And of course, we're going to get a commercial again. So while the commercial does its foolishness, I'll continue to talk. Ukraine has done a very good job fighting a very painful defensive war against a larger adversary. Ukraine has been encouraging foreign citizens to fight along with in the Ukraine. And because technically they are defending, if you volunteer, you're not technically a mercenary because you're defending the legally elected and acknowledged government. The EU is not labeling you as a mercenary, which is illegal in the EU and in North America. So basically, it's giving a green light to anybody who wants to serve to go over and serve. And I've seen folks, including a guy who was he was a mechanic from Jersey, single guy, no kids, no wife. And he said, I'm approaching he's in his 40s, and he said, I want to do something good, something noteworthy in his life. And he's going to go like the Ernest Hemingway route. He's going to go join a war. He's actually joining with a bunch of other guys who are ex-military who are really pissed off about what they're seeing. So just to give you a context of how Ukraine is fighting their war, let me show you guys what's going on. And actually, a Russian tank commander was killed in this video. Wasn't killed like on the video, but you can see. Let's watch. I'm going to let the audio. I don't know if there is any audio. So as you can see here, the Russian convoy is moving in to this city. And whatever happens in the city, see how they got bunched up? Somehow the front tank got attacked. For whatever reason, the tanks got bunched up. And then you saw those black explosions are actually the Ukrainians firing anti-tank weapons at the convoy. Ultimately, the convoy broke free and broke into the open where they have an advantage. But in doing so, they left several vehicles behind. And
do you know what I see?
That's a big deal, right?
Why?
Because you're watching the second largest military in the world committing rookie mistakes on a battlefield, and in a bad way. This is not the first time this has happened. There are repeated videos. We also think Russia grossly underestimated Ukraine's fight. Like, and when I say fight, their will to fight, as well as their abilities and competencies. Now, before I leave the Russia thing, because I don't want this whole video to go about Russia, but it is important. And again, guys, I'm trying to ride a fine line between keeping you aware and giving people a heart attack. We need to understand what's happening in geopolitics, because a war somewhere else, an embargo, a terrorist attack can affect us in our personal preparedness for our families and loved ones. But at the same time, we can't go and call Putin and say, hey, stop attacking Ukraine. We just can't do that. So we're trying to ride that fine line between awareness and having a heart attack. So I'll continue to try that. By all means, if I fail, shoot me an email and say, hey, dude, that was a bit fear-mongery, and I'll try and tone it down. State Department, though. Continued travel advisory: do not travel to Russia or Ukraine, which is obvious. Do not provoke attack, blah, blah, blah. U.S. citizens should depart Russia immediately. Keep in mind, if you are a dual citizen in Ukraine or Russia and you are in the country and a military-age male or a female who has a specialty skill, for example, you're a surgeon, you're a physicist, you are some kind of other scientist, you ain't getting out. They'll send your family home and you're stuck. You've been recruited. And yes, that includes professionals. They are being conscripted as specialists. So I've heard that is unconfirmed, but if I was Ukraine, I wouldn't let the mechanics and engineers leave. U.S. citizens residing or traveling to Russia should depart immediately. If you wish to depart Russia, you should make arrangements on your own as soon as possible. If you plan to stay in Russia, understand the United States Embassy has severe limitations at this juncture. Good news. So Belarus has agreed to take over the Chernobyl power plant, and they're sending engineers there. The Ukraine and Russia agreed that was probably a good idea before that blows up or does some other horrendous shit and makes everyone into a mutant. Italian police confirmed a small IED was thrown at the Belarusian embassy in Rome, and they call it a minor terrorist attack. The police are investigating, and they will arrest if they can find them. China demands, stupid China, demands the U.S. tell the truth about the Ukrainian labs that we have. Response from several U.S. senators apparently was, well, tell us what the hell you were doing in Wuhan, and we'll tell you what we were doing in Ukraine. And all of a sudden the conversation ended. So to the People's Republic government. I'm salty about that. Latvia has taken in 300 additional refugees. Latvia is a small country. They're growing their economy. They're doing a really good job of it, but they are a small country. They've also taken in some Russian citizens who wanted no part of the fuckery that was going on. And they've basically been told as long as they behave and do not break laws, they're welcome to be there. Japan said that any Ukrainians in Southeast Asia who were there for business or travel, or they got transferred there by their company, whatever, and can no longer go home safely, are welcome to go to Japan. They have some shelters and little apartments for you and your children if you need shelter. However, there is something from Interpol, and I do want to talk to this. I don't know if Northern Girl is going to wind up on the premiere or Lucky, but I know a few of you are very big advocates of this subject. Human trafficking. More than 2 million people have fled Ukraine since February 24th, the majority being women and children. There are growing concerns that many of the refugees arriving in Poland or other European countries are at high risk to be exploited and forced into prostitution. German police confirmed rumors that those refugees arriving in Berlin, for instance, have been approached by people who offered money to them and jobs or a place to stay, and specifically are targeting young children under the age of 16 or women. So they're looking to feed the pedophiles, I guess. If you're a refugee who has arrived in Berlin and you're approached by someone who offers you money and a place to stay, do not accept. And they have a hotline, or you go to the nearest uniformed police officer. Poland is doing the same thing. Hungary has updated. And, guys, just to go on a segue here, that brings up an important point. We don't appreciate how good we have it in US, Canada, Australia, as much BS as bullshit as we've gone through. There are countries right now, I mean, it happens here in the States for sure, but there are countries right now, if you physically are not watching your kid and you go to a store and grab a loaf of bread and you're not holding your child will be gone. And they will go to prostitution houses and whatnot. So that concerns me. I know my sons have mentioned when they were deployed, that was something in the background that the MPs often had to deal with, was the trafficking. So anyway, Moldova's having some issues because they have a separatist group in the country who has been, they are running around with that little Z as a flag, kind of like their flag, and they're pissing off the Ukrainians, and now they're having fights. Ukrainian citizens will be allowed into Moldova if they do not have international travel passports. They can travel with a domestic ID. So if you have family or friends who are trying to leave the war zone, any ID, they'll probably cut you some slack. You may be detained in a holding area or in a quarantine until they figure out what to do with you. But tell your friends and family, if you have anyone, even work colleagues, who are trying to get out, bring all the documents they can, not just electronically, but in paper format. Let's see what else we got. Nope, that's about it. And then there's a list of companies that are dinging the Russians. Among them, Viking Cruises, Ferrari, Ford, General Motors, Honda, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Renault, Volkswagen, whose spare part plant was in Ukraine and is now on fire. So Volkswagen, super pissed. Airbnb, yeah, that's what you want to do. Let's go do an Airbnb in Ukraine and watch the apocalypse break out. Booking.com, Expedia. And by the way, a refresher for those of you who may have missed the last video. If you are a U.S. citizen or Western expat who was traveling and got trapped, reach out to your travel agency that you use for your company or your credit card, for instance, Chase, American Express, Visa, and the travel agencies such as Expedia, etc. Let them know you are trapped in Ukraine. They will try to help you arrange transport to get out of the war zone so you can get home. And then what will happen is you'll have to figure out payment later, but they'll kind of front the money, like they'll guarantee your transport to get you out, or they'll hit up the government of your nation. For instance, if you're a UK or Canadian citizen, you're trying to get out of Ukraine, you didn't get out in time, get whatever docs you have, head to the border. If you can get out, call the American Express or whatever your company card is, or your personal card, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and tell them, hey, I'm trapped in Ukraine. I just got out. I'm in Poland, Romania, and I need transport to my home country. They'll arrange it for you, and they may bill the government of your nation, or they'll bill you later, but that sure as hell beats getting shot at. And they go on with lists. So we're going to leave that alone for now. We're going to transition to a different subject. But yes, not getting better. The situation is ugly. You saw the Russians are pushing hard. They're fighting hard, but the Ukrainians are fighting a very effective defensive war and hit and run tactics. And they've got the tech and the weaponry to really put a hole. One reporter, and I can't find the link now, stated that there's an estimate that 8 to 9% or 7 to 9% of the attacking Russian equipment and forces have been taken out of action, either fatality or their equipment's been destroyed or it requires repair. It's no longer viable. That's a major amount of loss, considering everyone expected Ukraine to get steamrolled. There's also talk that over 200,000 Ukrainians that left early, just before the war started, or 300,000, and 50,000 of those 300 have come back, mostly military-age men. However, they also have women coming back volunteering as nurses. Some are volunteering as fighters, including former female police officers are coming back and being trained as snipers. These folks are not, they're not going to roll over, folks. They're in for the long haul. And I was not expecting the war to drag on like this. And I sure as hell, in my wildest dreams, and I'll be totally straight with my audience, never thought I'd see Russian tanks bunch up like a traffic jam and get picked apart by Ukrainians and have to run away. One, I thought the Russians would know better. Two, I didn't see any foot infantry. You cannot send a tank into an urban environment without infantry to support it. I'm guessing the Russians didn't think there was resistance there. They kind of were using it as a parking lot to kind of stage to move to the next town. And the Ukrainians popped out of the woods and buildings, started tearing the shit out of stuff. And they had to bail. So this is serious. These guys are not joking around. But now I'm going to transition. So guys, I'm going to move over to domestic issues. Specifically, hold on a second. I got to work this link here. Okay. As you know, fuel prices are getting stupid in the US. But here's a problem. People are starting to resort to crime. And we were afraid this would happen during the Rona. With the war pressures, I think it might happen now. Let me share what I got, just so you guys can get a little bit of understanding here. Thieves steal gas from cars as costs soar. Police say, here's how to protect your vehicle. They're using rubber hoses to siphon out fuel. Some people are using a power tool to drill a hole in the gas tank and drain your fuel. That's a problem. The average price for gas is $4.33, and this is a few days ago, so it's gone up since then. Up from $3.48 a month ago, in some areas at $7. So let's do the math there, kids. I'm going to pull up a calculator because my brain isn't working today. So if you have $6.95 gas and you are driving a Ford F-150 with a 36-gallon tank, your full tank in California is going to run you $250. That's a freaking car payment, kids. I don't know if they're trying to do that to ruin our ability to drive, but there is crime affiliated with the use of, let me get this stupid thing out of the way, the use of a motivated thief will not be deterred from stealing no matter how hard we try to protect our items of value, but the goal is to introduce deterrence. So yes, they are right now experiencing a lot of crime in certain areas. They're stealing fuel. And by the way, for those of you, now electric vehicles, that's great, but the electric vehicles, the electricity comes from somewhere. And right now, most of our power plants are natural gas burning, along with some oil burners and solar and wind. But solar and wind are not sufficient. And geothermal is still developing. So really, we still need the gas. Oh, good Lord. Okay, I hadn't seen this one before. So this article, Eve, electric vehicles won't save us from high gas prices. Low inventory, high prices, and decades of dependency have painted us into a corner. And I kind of agree with that. The older cities, New York, Boston, Chicago, have very elaborate mass transit, subways, trains. Those cities were built during the age of the train. You go to Dallas, Houston, Seattle, Los Angeles, especially in its modern form, not quite the same as the East Coast because they were not developed as fast during the age of the train. It's more automobile. Where is this? This is Los Angeles. Holy cow, it already passed 7. That sucks. Okay, that's depressing. With gas prices soaring above $4 a gallon, electric vehicles are looking more attractive. But again, remember, guys, we still have chip shortages. You cannot create an electric vehicle with a chip shortage. So there's issues there. The global chip shortage, higher than average prices, and low inventory at dealerships are going to keep it difficult. So again, as much as I'd like to say electric vehicles might be an option, and I would love a Tesla truck because they just look badass, not coming anytime in the near future. And because of the fuel, we're going to battle some grocery prices too, which is my big concern. So let's go to, grocery costs in 2019 versus 2022. East Texans. This is a local news outfit in Tyler, Texas, which is toward Dallas on the eastern side, toward Louisiana. According to the Consumer Price Index, the price of goods annually has risen Price of goods typically purchased by American households shows that the cost of food at home has risen 7.4% since January. So let's do the math. If we're going up, hell, even if we're going up 8% a year since 2020, so you have the year of 2020 and then year 2021, and we're now in the midst of 2022. That's 2.5 years at 8% a year. That's still 16. We're going into 24% at that rate toward the end of the year. And I'm just drawing a straight line mathematically. Some stores here in East Texas are seeing empty shelves due to lack of supply. It's not good at all. Sometimes I don't even have enough. I'm on a fixed income. And again, this is where people get hurt. The blue collar workers, the gig workers, the Uber drivers, the Uber Eats. You guys get it. You're making, even if you're making 15, 18 an hour, we're doing something wrong if the price of fuel to get where you're going is unsustainable. So, stupid Beto O'Rourke. I don't know what he's doing there, but nobody wants to listen to his crap. I sure don't. So, folks, we're going to continue to see that pressure because of the fuel shortages, because now this war is disrupting trade more so than it already was disrupted. So keep in mind, Ukraine is not only a big wheat supplier, so is Russia, so are we, but they're also fertilizer manufacturers. They also create spare parts for companies like Volkswagen and Renault. So this is hurting a lot of different stuff. And there's other things we're not seeing. So we're going to continue to see these prices. So again, collaborate, buy in bulk if you can. If you can't do it on your own, split it with other people. Try to pay the least dollar per unit, per pound, per gallon, whatever, that you can get away with. Minimize that exposure. It'll make a difference, I promise you. And nothing else, it kind of will delay the pain, if you will. So, of course, the stock market wants to do cool stuff. So let's see what the stock market has done. Stocks in volatile week lowers, Russia, Ukraine, and plunge in consumer confidence add to bearishness. Now, keep in mind, one analyst actually, and that just, stocks fall amid Ukraine jitters. Let's see if we can get this video going, kids. Hold on a second. And maybe not. Okay, we'll let that commercial pass and we will proceed. But, and the dogs are barking because UPS has arrived, and UPS is the great enemy of corgis across the world. Shh, you hush, Dingy. Let's see what the stock market says as soon as I get through this commercial. So keep in mind, I'll tell you what, no box will arrive at my house without me knowing about it. And that deep bark is the corgi. Now she's whining. Anyway, all right, let's try. We're going to do it this way. Stock markets and news live updates. Stocks and volatile week lower as Russia, Ukraine, and consumer confidence drops. So crude oil prices ended higher after tumbling on Thursday when U.S. West Texas Intermediate slid back below 110 a barrel. So, folks, we're going to continue to see that pricing pressure. The president went so far as to say it would be the Putin price increase, which is basically him trying to avoid the fact that the price was going up already anyway, and now it's just worse. He's going to blame Putin for the economy. There are a lot of other factors, not just Putin. But that's pretty much where we're at. So what can we do, right? I try to end my Saturday sit reps with action items. Continue to do the things you're doing. Maintain your vehicle as much as you can afford to do so. It's going to get more expensive. Remember, oil changes, tires, which are made of rubber and petroleum byproducts, all of these things are going to go up. Try to maintain sooner than later. If you can do your own oil change, great. If you don't have a place to do it, do the oil change now before the prices go up. Now, 6 months from now, we may have the opposite discussion, right? Prices may go down. One analyst from Bloomberg actually went so far as to say, we're going to start a new Cold War. And he said it may not be a bad thing for the market. Once the market adjusts, during the Cold War, some of the best technology and the best developments occurred while the two sides were competing with each other. So the person said that might be an opportunity for investment, for new business, for private business to kind of thrive. He's being optimistic. I kind of agree with him. But until we get to that point, we have to deal with what we got in front of us. So again, buy in bulk, less dollars per unit, whatever the unit may be, gallon, liter, basket, bin, can, whatever. Okay, right now, Wolf brand chili at the local store was $2 That made me insane. Why the hell is chili $2 a can? Below and behold, it's $2 a can. So if you got those cans that you bought during the Rona and then everything calmed down and you kind of picked up some more, bravo to you, boys and girls, because you guys may have saved yourself a boatload of money. Also, get creative. I'm going to try and do some more videos in the coming weeks about cooking with your preps, recipes using the preps you have. So give you guys some ideas of what you can do as opposed to opening a can and eating out of a can. I mean, nobody wants to eat Spam out of a can, although it's perfectly legit. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you guys something that I found, or maybe not. I thought I had it, but it is gone. So it is not something I can show you. In any case, yeah, there's a lot of products in the market. I would recommend also stuff like this. Don't forget beef broth, chicken broth, things you can make chili with, and then you can can it, and you can can it, and you can utilize it in other ways. If it expires, and actually this is an older can, this one's about to expire. Try to make use of it. If you can't, give them away. Maybe give them to a neighbor. Somebody will use it if they know you have it. If you can, trade it. So if you have something you can trade, put it on your local Facebook group. Talk to your neighbors. Say, hey, I have cans of chili or I have cans of whatever, and would you like? Does anyone want it? I'll sell them or trade. You might be shocked. Somebody might give you something for it. Our Facebook group in my subdivision has been an absolute trading post and a location for snarky jokes. But people have been collaborating in the neighborhood. They've been trading. One person gave another one lawn furniture in exchange for a dehydrator or something like that. It's just crazy. One person needed furniture and one wanted a dehydrator, and they swapped. Do those things. Get creative, guys. the important thing is a good prepper, someone who is of a preparedness mindset, needs to be aware of what's happening so that they can make the decision to be the most prepared they can be if the situation occurs, right? So doing the la 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 and not listening to the news or anything can be detrimental. On the flip side, you listen to too much news, you give yourself a heart attack, and I'll be the first one to admit that. So find that balance, and most importantly, find a place in yourself to find peace if you can. Find that level, that calm place where you can function correctly, and try to, make those decisions from a place of calm and thoughtfulness, and not in a place of panic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm struggling a bit this afternoon to kind of verbalize what I'm thinking. Don't function in panic. Function in thoughtfulness and balance. That's what I was looking for. Okay, thank you guys, and apologies for that. Sometimes I have a really elaborate thought in my head and it does not come out of my mouth the way I thought. In any case, I'm going to wrap this one up. That is your Saturday Sit Rep for today, and this is the Roaming Prepper channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Feel free to share. I greatly appreciate it. And somebody pointed out that I got busy and then everything was happening and I never did my giveaways. So I'm actually, just for shits and giggles at this point, I'm trying to come up with some good giveaways, and then at every live I do, somebody will win something, and I'm going to do that for a few weeks just for fun, so we can have a little bit of fun, and maybe we'll share some knowledge and somebody will come away with some goodies. So in any case, God bless all of you guys. Godspeed if you're traveling, and I may be traveling in the coming weeks, so you guys keep me in your prayers. God bless to all our troops, and God to all those evacuees and the civilians. I feel really bad, especially for the children out there, because they're the ones who suffer the most from the stupidity of our leaders. And help each other out. Collaborate. Stay balanced. It's important to know what's going on, but don't have a heart attack. Look at every news article you see and say to yourself, how is this going to help me make a better decision? And if you look at all this news in that context, how does that help me understand what's going on? You will realize how valuable it is to pay attention and not freak out. Guys, until next time, be safe, take care, help each other out. And if you guys, I don't know, but day drinking sounds pretty good to me this weekend. So I might be inventorying, since in demonstration I pulled out an expired can. So I guess I need to go through that particular shelf over here. So like I said, I'll put my failures as well as my successes on my videos. You guys be good, and I will see you later on.